Happy New Year. Let's get buckets. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined by Raheem Palmer, professional bettor and NBA futures analyst, Brandon Anderson for this week's happy hour edition of Buckets. Glad that you are with us. As a reminder, everything we talk about in this podcast can be tracked, followed, and kept up to date with on the Action Network app. It's the best way for you to track your picks. You can get all sorts of information on where the money's coming in, all sorts of cool stuff. You will find something cool. If you are betting and you are looking through the Action Network app, you will spend so much time on it. I promise. Go download the app right now. You can even track Raheem and Brandon's picks and mine as a gents. Solid month of plus ROI for your boy. It's been a good month. The model is paying off for me. I'm in a good spot. Brandon, you've been out of the loop a little bit between NFL and then you had some health issues. Do we need to catch you up on what's been going on in the NBA?
We do, yeah. I've been basically in bed nursing those kidney stones away for the last week or two. So yeah, we're gonna do a little previously on the NBA. I need you guys to just catch me up on what I've been missing out here. I know some of our listeners probably too with the holidays and business of everything. We just want to fly around the NBA and just kind of run through big picture what has been happening out here. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of go through the standings and just hit you guys with some topics. Let's start in the East. The East is looking strange. The East is looking wide open. We've got a few teams at the top, and then we got just a mess after that. So, of course, at the top, like they have been all year, Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie Irving is back. Kyrie made his debut yesterday, Wednesday, as of recording on Thursday. So, Raheem, talk to me about Kyrie. Did you see it? What did you see? And how do you think that what's this do for Brooklyn big picture for you for the title odds and EV?
Okay, first things first, Kyrie came back. 22 points, 4 assists, 3 steals, 3 rebounds. I think the biggest thing that Kyrie adds is another body. And I think that's more important than anything else. Now, we know Kyrie, he's a prolific scorer. He can get his shot at any time. But having that extra body is necessary because Kevin Durant was second in minutes played at 37 minutes per game. When you looked at some of the wins and some of the losses, this guy's playing upwards of 40 minutes, 44 minutes, and just regular season games, and you can't burn your superstar wing out in the regular season. So even though Kyrie's just a part-time player, any load that you can reduce on Kevin Durant in the regular season is big. Kyrie Irving last year, when you looked at the numbers, they were scoring 121 points per 100 possessions with him off the floor, 116 with him off. So I think this is big for Brooklyn, even though he's just a part-time player.
Yeah, I think so too. It's nice. It's just nice to see him play again. It's fun to watch Kyrie play some basketball. Much more fun to talk about Kyrie playing basketball than other Kyrie things. Matt, how does this move the needle for you on Bucks or on Nets title futures?
0. It moves it 0. None. My guy Reed Wallach, who does a lot he's a big Nets fan, has done work for us in the past, bounces all around, does a lot of work for various betting companies. He said last night, like, Kyrie really fills in all the gaps of this team. He just kind of brings everything together. All the things that they need, he does. And I read him back with asterisk offensively. Look, the Nets offense is underperformed. Let me give you the big picture on the Nets this season, Brandon. The Nets have overperformed defensively and underperformed offensively. And we're going to continue to see over the next couple of months those two trends reverse. They're going to go back to what we expect them to be, which is a shitty defensive team that's really awesome on offense. And their entire hope for the playoffs and winning the title is Kyrie and KD and Harden are all going to put up 35, and they're going to have so many weapons, and they're just going to score 120 points a night. They have no front court. None. They have no front court. Kyrie does not help with that. Does Kyrie, I'll say this, Kyrie raises the bar, their floor. They are less likely to get upset in a first round series. I didn't think that they were necessarily susceptible to that anyway, but it like removes it. If they were like a 30% chance to get knocked off in an upset, they're now like a 20% chance, or from 20 to 10, because Kyrie could just go off and get you there. But I don't think Kyrie helps in any sort of key matchup. I don't think he helps versus the Sixers. I don't think he helps versus the Bucks. I don't think he helps versus Miami. And I don't think he helps versus any of the Western teams, even with the ability to beat the switch. So for me, it's a big old fat 0. Kyrie's back. Glad everyone can enjoy watching him dribble a lot and shoot crazy layups, but I don't think that he helps them anymore in winning the title.
Yeah, it's oversimplifying, but I think at the very least, with Joe Harris out, Kyrie gives them that shooter to just another body, another guy out there for now. And I'll say this too, as a props better, I don't know what to do with this. Like, this is not necessarily like, all right, Kyrie's back. Now we know what to do. No, I'm staying away a little bit. We don't have much data. We barely even got to see this much last year.
I got one more thing for you on this. I talked to some bookmakers yesterday, and we're putting up a post about this on Action Network. Kyrie's worth about 3 points to the spread. That's what I got from two bookmakers, was that Kyrie's worth about 3 points to the spread from home versus away. And so you're going to see a swing of about 3 points from home to away, which is funny because depending on where you have home court advantage, like I have home court advantage less than 2 points this season. I don't know where Raheem has it, but it's basically, it makes up a big chunk of that. So it's like the Nets, it's like -3 for Kyrie, but you're home. So you add like whatever. So in my case, it would be like, oh, Kyrie, if you were trying to model this in, it'd be like, you take the away line and you go -3 for Kyrie, but plus 1.8. So it winds up being like a point. This is all like very weird stuff to try and figure out. And bookmakers did say they're like, we're going to have to see how the splits go. Like, how do they perform? But the other thing that they said is you can't overreact because the sample size is going to be small. So you can't necessarily make these big changes based off of how they perform away versus home. It's going to be fascinating, I think, to track and see what the spreads are and how they evolve throughout the season, depending on how the Nets play home versus away.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to see just kind of what this looks like. It's new. We haven't seen this before. I mean, we last saw like back during wartime when guys were part-time players before. So this is something different and new. We said we were going to start at the top of the East. I lied. We didn't start at the top of the East. Let's go to the actual top of the East. My Chicago Bulls, 25-10. My DeMar DeRozan hitting 2 game-winning shots back-to-back nights. My Bulls are not really my Bulls. Matt, they've been your Bulls this season. Are the Bulls legit? Did you see them as the 1 seed this far into the season?
I did not see them being this good. They've exceeded every single expectation. I thought they might be a solid playoff team. I thought they might have a small chance to fill in that, third or fourth gap in the East. To be this good has been absolutely incredible. Dan Titus, producer, I'm going to need you to go ahead and pull our preseason podcast and all the times that I was like, Brandon, the Bulls are going to be good. And Brandon shit on that idea. I'm going to need you to go ahead and bring that one back. And so we have some drops of Brandon talking about how much the Bulls were not going to be good and complaining about the trade last year for Vucevic, who after a rough start has been absolutely awesome. For me, I'll tell you this, the biggest actionable thing I am looking at, I feel like I missed the boat on the division because they're plus 135 still to win the division. That's like you're still getting plus number for a team that has a 5-game lead in the loss column on Milwaukee. And Milwaukee just continues to have injury issues and missed games and all these types of things. And there's that part of me that's still worried that Milwaukee's going to go on a burst and take it. But I'll tell you, like, Chicago they've weathered so much. They were without DeRozan and they stayed above water. They were without Levine and DeRozan. They stayed above water. They lost Patrick Williams. They stayed above water. Like, they've just found ways to win. Caruso's been out. Ball's been out. They missed so many guys and they just continue to find ways to win in these situations. I am much less married to the idea of, we're going to bet the Bulls in the regular season and fade them in the playoffs than I was at the start of the season. I think the Chicago team has the potential to make some noise in the Eastern Conference playoffs. I'm not ready to go like there's value on betting them to win the East yet, but I also didn't think there was value on betting them to win the division. And now I feel like the value's gone. Chicago is one of those teams where I'm not sure that skepticism is going to wind up being in any way profitable, or that you're going to miss out on EV by doubting this team at this point. They've really been solid and none of it looks like smoke and mirrors outside of their offense, which continues to perform at a high level despite a low shot profile and a lot of wonky numbers.
Yeah, I think the division, I agree. I don't know. There's a ton of value there. I do have my eye on Billy Donovan, coach of the year. That line has dropped a little bit over the last week with some of these wins, but he's still not the favorite. He's not even the second favorite out booked. So I think there could be some value there. If they do win the division, I'm seeing like plus 400, 500. That could be a look. Raheem, I know you got your MVP model. DeMar had those 2 shots. DeMar is the leading scorer on the East 1 seed. I know your model likes that sort of thing. Is DeMar DeRozan a serious MVP contender for you?
It's very hard for me to get there. Look, when we first ran the MVP model on December 22nd, it actually had him fifth behind Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And at that time, odds were 6,600. Now it's actually down to plus 4,000. It's like when you look at DeRozan, he's been playing excellent. I mean, look, the last 8 games since he returned from health and safety protocol, he's averaging 28.5 points on 48.2% shooting. He's hit game winners against the Lakers, Pacers, and Wizards. And I think that's where a lot of the MVP hype has come. But when you look at what he's doing in the fourth quarter of these games, he's second in fourth quarter points per game, right behind Giannis Antetokounmpo with 8. So he is a legitimate candidate, but I just don't know if he's going to get votes over Steph Curry, over Kevin Durant, over Giannis Antetokounmpo. I actually have him fourth at this point. I actually have him over Jokic just based on record, but it's just tough to see him getting those votes. But I think if you want to take a flyer, maybe it's worth it to take it at plus 4,000, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, it seems to me like a guy that maybe gets onto a ballot, but I don't know that he can really win it. And we talked about that before. We don't really know quite the cash out. Maybe you allow a chance to get in and out, but I think that you miss the in and out maybe window on DeMar as well. I think, to me, the sleeper to pass Steph in the MVP race might be Giannis. Giannis is lurking. The Bucks are lurking. The defending champs. Matt, do you think that Giannis is kind of the lurking sleeper in the MVP race?
Oh, yeah. For me, I think the best value right now is on KD. I already have a big Giannis position, right? Like we all have big Giannis positions.
Yeah.
We've got him. We talked about like he's, Brandon was like, it's a one-man race. Like it's Giannis. So we all agreed that he was the best bet in preseason. Like Brandon thought it was a one-man race. Raheem thought it was like a 3-man race. And I thought it was like a 25-man race. So I will say one thing on DeRozan. I feel like it's a little insulting to Zach LaVine to give DeRozan that push. Like
that's fair.
Look, PER is a flawed stat, right? But I think we're just talking about like, all right, how much are these guys? Because if we're looking at this, it's the defense is really what's carrying Chicago. With the offense, all right, I think PER maybe gives you a good idea of what's the actual contribution level. DeRozan's at 23.4, great. LaVine's at 21.9, also great. Win shares per 48. DeRozan's at 1.84, great. LaVine's at 0.153, great. VORP, DeRozan's at 1.3, LaVine's at 1.8. He's actually higher in VORP. Like to me, like I think Zach LaVine is one of the reasons why DeRozan, and that will probably become a talking point as the MVP race evolves, mostly because I will make it one because I can't afford for DeRozan to win. It would absolutely fucking bankrupt me. So that will become part of the conversation. For Giannis, I do still feel like there's this Bucks run coming that, there's going to be an update in late February of like, Brook Lopez has begun practicing with the team again. And they're going to get when they've been fully healthy, they've wrecked. Like they wreck teams. They just haven't had anybody healthy. They're also not stressing about it. Unlike like the Nuggets who have everybody out and are basically miserable all the time because of how banged up, shorthanded they are. The Bucks are just like, it's fine. Yeah, it's tough, but we're going to get there. We're going to get to the playoffs and we're the defending champs. No stress. So I feel like they have a run coming. Like I could see them in March doing something like, the Bucks went on a 10-game winning streak and just wrecked everybody.
It's so crazy because right before they lost the game against Detroit, and then obviously Giannis sat out last night against the Raptors, they just won 6 straight, and they still aren't healthy. So it's like that run we're kind of seeing the run already start. It's just every time a run starts, somebody else gets hurt or sits out.
There's a vulnerability here. There's 2 ways to look at this. Curry's numbers are not what we think they are. Curry's below 40% from 3. His field goal percentage is below 43%, which is wild.
He's at 42%.
Which is wild. He hasn't been able to hit a shot. His assist numbers aren't up. his impact numbers aren't necessarily on pace with where he's been. The Warriors have won with defense, and that's going to continue to be more and more of a conversation. Now, the counter argument is like, okay, the Warriors won all these games when Steph hasn't played well. So if Steph gets it going, what does that look like? And that is like how I continue to feel okay about. I'm not adding to my Steph MVP position, which is my biggest liability at this point, but that's why I feel okay about it. I don't feel like I need to hedge against it because I feel like, look, if he goes on a tear in and out of All-Star in March, whatever, they're going to win a bunch of games, even if the defense slips. So that's good. With Giannis, he's got to make up some record space because the Nets have a healthy advantage in record, and the Warriors do as well. And he's got to have like this. He has to become the story for a little bit. The Bucks have simply not been the story. They have a bunch of like when they are fully healthy and they play good teams, they win. And no one's counting them out. But he's not the story of the season so far. So for me, I don't want to add anything on Giannis right now. If I'm adding anybody, I'm adding on KD, and I'm looking for some other options around the league.
I think it's even tough to add on to KD right now because with Kyrie coming back and Harden's starting to round into form right now. So he's not playing like, look, over the last 6 games, Harden's averaging 29.8 points per game and 12 free throw attempts. So this is not the Harden we saw earlier on in the year. And then Kyrie is coming back. So there could be some of that issue where some of the voters just don't want to give it to KD because he's playing with 3 stars. So I think this year's
good.
I think this year's MVP race is like probably the toughest. It's going to come down to the stretch in ways that we haven't seen in a while. Like, I mean, look, like Steph Curry really has been struggling. I mean, you look at the last 2 games, he's 3 of 17 from the field against Miami, 1 for 10 for 3 against Miami for 9 points. And then he follows that up against the Mavericks, goes 5 for 24, 1 for 9 from 3 for 14 points. So I just think it's truly wide open. And this is probably not going to get settled until after the All-Star break.
I agree. I will say this, that like, oh, Kyrie's back and James Harden's playing well. Yeah, KD went for 39, 8, and 7 last night on 15 of 24 shooting, and he didn't even shoot well from 3. Like, KD is legit this season. KD, he's a monster.
Has been, he's definitely been, I mean, he leads the league in scoring, and it's just he's shooting 51.8% from the field.
Yeah, and on top of all this, I do think he'll get credit from the voters. The voters will go, yeah, he got. It's weird because going into the season, I argued against KD because I was like, no, he's got all this help. They won't reward him. The absence of those guys is exactly what voters will reward. They'll be like, he carried them when Harden was carrying around 2 tons of chicken wings under his jersey, and Kyrie was doing an Illuminati world tour. Like KD carried them, and that will matter. I will continue to say this. It's unavoidable. Look, if the Nuggets get anybody healthy and they can go on any run, like I am telling you that Jokic's numbers are so impressive and they have been so beat to shit that if they get to a 4 seed, Nikola Jokic is going to pick up a ton of votes. I don't know if it's going to be enough because like Curry and Durant, I think, have so much of the story narrative, but everybody, the all-star returns are very telling. Jokic has never been like popular. Jokic is, I think, 3rd on the all-star returns today. Like everyone knows Nikola Jokic is a problem. The reigning MVP, and he's carried that team so much. I think there's secret value there, but let's get back on track. I'm sorry for derailing. Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's very appropriate. That was our Milwaukee Bucks section, and we spent it all talking about Kevin Durant and Jokic and the MVP, which is pretty much about how the Bucks season has gone, which I think is kind of the lurking thing. So, let's hit a couple other East teams here down the list. Cleveland Cavaliers, to me, they're another reason why I'm not totally ready to bet on that Bulls division, because I think it's not necessarily just a 2-team race, and the Cavs are at least in the mix there. But right as I was starting to kind of get excited about them, Ricky Rubio, torn ACL, Rajon Rondo, I know is there now, not exactly Ricky Rubio. As a Wolves fan, I have flashbacks to a Wolves season where they were just turning the corner. Rubio tore his ACL, bottom fell out a little bit. So, Raheem, how worried does the Rubio injury land for you? Where are you at on the Cavs? Are they a playoff team? Are they a play-in team? Are they in that division mix? Where are you at on them?
I'm going to be honest. I think they're done. And I know the defense is still solid, but look, they lost 5 of 7. They have a net rating of 1.3 over the last 7 games. But I just think without Rubio, without Sexton, you just don't have the playmakers like that you need in order to create looks that to create the kind of looks that you need to consistently score down the stretch. And I know Evan Mobley and Jared Allen gives you a solid defense, but I think this team's going to fall out of it. And I think there was like this Dave Chappelle free crack giveaway on the Cleveland Cavaliers every night to where you could bet on them and you make money, but that's over. That party is done.
So when you say the party is done, when you say you're out on them, how out? Are they falling into the play-in tournament?
They're falling into the play-in tournament.
Okay, so they're still at least in the play-in.
This was the top. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think this was the top 4 or 5 seed before.
Okay, how about you, Matt? Where are you at on the Cavs?
So on Futures Friday over at NBA Bet, NBA.com/NBA Bet, weeks ago, I grabbed the Cavaliers. Boys, they were still plus 500 when I grabbed them. And that was a choice position. And then, of course, Rubio gets hurt because, of course, look, I'll tell you, I'm not out. I don't think that I think Raheem's getting a little far out there. Look, Rubio's always been this guy where it's like, he's really good. And he does these things that no team ever really needs him. Like, no team ever really needs Ricky Rubio. The Wolves didn't really need him. Like, nobody's ever really needed Ricky Rubio. He's good and he's very helpful. And it sucks that he got hurt. It's a bummer. Being without Sexton does hurt. I will tell you that league executives feel like there's a possibility the Cavs make a trade. And if the Cavs make a trade and they pick up another guard, if you just pick up like a solid NBA playmaker, I'm legit here. I'll be straight with you. I think Evan Mobley gets it. Like, this kid is incredible. He makes so many plays.
Yeah.
And I know they lost this stretch. They got hit with the COVID, right? So like some of that's impacted by who they had out. They beat the Pacers, and that Grizzlies game, they were right there with what has been one of the best teams in the West in the Memphis Grizzlies, especially in these games versus over 500 teams. And they were right.
The Grizzlies were missing guys. I mean, I think Slow-Mo wasn't playing.
Slow-Mo and Bane and not Bane. Dylan was out too. Brooks was out. So they were like everybody. I mean, everybody's missing guys. But this is my thing is I can't look at like they're losing stretches from December 22nd through January 4th. That is literally the worst part of this season in terms of absences. Like these games, we kind of got to be like, chuck them, right? We'll find out. The Cavaliers from here on out, the next 2 weeks, they have a road trip through the Western Conference at Blazers, at Warriors, at Kings, at Jazz, at Spurs, and then at Thunder. We will find out if they can come out of this road trip and be okay. The Cavaliers are going to be in a good spot, but because they've had a really tough schedule so far. I think that's important to note here. They've had one of the tougher schedules so far. Their back half of the schedule looks a lot softer. So they've got home games versus teams under 500. So I still think that the Cavaliers are very much live to get a top 6 seed and make the playoffs outright.
Yeah, Evan Mobley now is the odds-on favorite to win Rookie of the Year, and I think he has to be. I actually saw Mobley play against the Pacers the other night. I love Mobley, and I loved him. I watched a ton of his footage at USC last year, getting ready for the draft. I was so close to putting Mobley ahead of Cade on my board, and I couldn't quite get there just because the floor wasn't there. The body, I didn't know if his strength would hold up. It's there already. Yeah. Like the whole thing with Mobley was, will he be strong enough, and can he do it without a lot of other stars around him? And he's already doing both of those things. He's so good. I'm just going to be outlandish for a second. I think from what I've seen from Mobley right now as a rookie, combined with what I saw before, I think that if you gave him a Chris Bosh career, to me, that's disappointing. I think he's going to be better than Chris Bosh. I think he's more on an Anthony Davis, trending toward Tim Duncan. That's the trajectory I think that he could be on when he's looking like this right now.
Look, his nickname is Slim Duncan, and I see it.
Yeah. He's a real good. All right, one more in the East, then we'll go to the West. Boston. They've been my team. They were my team that I put my hope in early in the year. I was in on Boston and Portland. This has not gone well for me. Boston, sink or swim. Do you think the Celtics are still going to hang around and make a run? Matt, I know you kind of are looking at the Celtics a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, so we're recording this on Thursday night or Thursday afternoon. They play the Knicks tonight. I'm on the Celtics. I have officially, like, This is the last night's terrible loss to the Spurs is the moment where I'm going the other way. Celtics have a top 10 adjusted net rating per dunksandthrees.com. If you look at just their season has been defined by Jaylen Brown's been out or Jason Tatum has been out. They haven't had those two together. I think there's an understanding that this team is going to make a move. By the way, they're slipped to 12th on adjusted net rating at dunks and threes after the last couple of games. I think they make a move. I will say this, especially if they trade Marcus Smart for an actual point guard, and I love Marcus Smart and think he can help a lot of teams, but if they trade Marcus Smart for a point guard, I love this team in the second half of the season. The Celtics so far this season have the 7th toughest strength of schedule. If you look at the top teams in adjusted net rating and then look at their schedules, the only teams that have a top 10 adjusted net or strength of schedule with a top 12 adjusted net rating are Dallas somehow, Toronto at 10th toughest schedule, and then Boston, who is at the 7th toughest. I think there's a lot of reason to think that the Celtics team, they've lost heartbreaker games. They've had horrific collapses they're bad and they hurt your overall record, but they don't necessarily sustain throughout the season. I think there's a lot of upside for Boston.
Yeah, I'm not ready to give up on them yet. I'll say too, I've been noticing on props lately, a couple of props angles for you. If you want to play Jaylen Brown, 3-point overs, over 2.5 is where his line is at. He missed a few games, and then 11 games since he's been back. It'll be 12 by the time you listen. His 3-point volume has gone up from like 6.5 attempts a game to almost 9.5 per game. And the lines haven't really adjusted there yet. So I've been playing a lot of Jaylen Brown 3s overs and some alternate overs, hitting 4 or 5 some of those games. The other one is Al Horford assists overs. I've noticed the last 5 games, his assists and his potential assists. That's a good sneaky way to watch assist numbers there. Both way up. Horford's a good passer. We know that. And we know the Celtics don't really move the ball that well. They're kind of moving around a little bit, playing through Horford just a little more lately. So those are some nice ways to play Boston. Let's go over to the West. I want to just kind of lightning around through the top 3 teams in the West. We've talked about Warriors, Suns, Jazz a lot. So start with the Warriors. Raheem, we've said a lot about them. Right now, based on public perception of the Warriors, underrated, overrated, or properly rated?
I think they're properly rated. I think you're looking at a team that's the best defense in the league. They're winning with defense. And obviously you have Steph Curry, which opens things up for everybody. His mere presence on the floor means that other guys are going 4-on-3 pretty much. And the bench is solid. I just think when the playoffs comes, and obviously Klay Thompson's coming back this week, so things could change. But I still think when the playoffs come and they're trapping Steph Curry, I'm still worried about Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole and some of those other guys. Can they actually go ahead and get their own shot? That's the only thing I'm worried about this team. But defensively, I think they're great. I think they are properly rated.
Matt, how about for you? And how does Klay Thompson back Sunday, I think, right? How does that move the needle for you?
I'm on the other side of this from Raheem. I actually think that they're probably a little overrated in regular season because nobody realizes how much they are not splash city. Like they are not just absolutely tearing it up. Like they win solid with defense but they also have so many guys that just make big plays. Like last night, they probably win that Mavericks game if Otto Porter plays. Like that game is winnable for them if Otto Porter plays, but he was out. They rested him. Otto Porter, Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole. Game by game, you just need one of those guys to step up, or Klay. Like they have so many options for guys that can hurt you if you try and neutralize Steph. If you put 2 on ball, I'll say this: I'm writing about this on for Action. This is the best passing season of Steph's career. He's been a better passer than I've ever seen him this season. The numbers don't reflect it, but I'm telling you that his recognition of passes, his opportunity passes, targeting, placement, all these things are excellent. Draymond's playing phenomenal. This is the best we've seen Draymond play since 2015, even better in 2016. And they have enough weapons. I think they'll be able to punish any approach that teams take to them in the playoffs. I think they're properly rated as a title contender. They should probably be the title favorite, honestly, maybe a little underrated. But regular season, I think they're a little overrated. That's my take on them.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. One more very important Warriors question for this Buckets podcast. Jordan Poole is back to the bench. It's only game 37. We're still alive. Can Jordan Poole win 6th man of the year?
Tyler's got such a big lead.
Yeah, Tyler's got it.
Tyler's got such a big lead. I'm hopeful, but Tyler would have to fall off the map and Poole would have to keep it up. It's a bummer because I feel like Poole's been really good for them, but we just didn't get Jaws eruption takes out the MIP vote, and then Tyler just being what he's been, and Spo's ability to keep him coming off the bench has I think killed it. I think our Jordan Poole bets are dead.
I think they might be, but he is back on the bench. We at least got there before the halfway point, so they're theoretically still alive. Very much still alive are the Phoenix Suns, who we still don't talk about a whole lot. And by the time you listen to this, with the Warriors arresting guys tonight, possibly losing on a Thursday, the Suns might be the top record in the West. They're tied for the top record right now. None of the three of us have gone all in on the Phoenix Suns yet. It's just we seem to not quite get there. What are we missing on the Suns, Matt?
I took a little taste of a Suns Bucks rematch finals matchup. I did put in a little taste of that last week. They're really consistent. This one's tough for me to put words on, honestly. I can't really elucidate what it is, which is why Suns fans are like, you're just a hater.
You know what it is? I think you thought that they were going to take a step back and they overperformed, and they're playing pretty much the same way that they did last year.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's probably throwing you off, because it's just
they're honestly better. They're honestly better than last year. They've gotten better versus teams under 500, which is where they were hurt last year.
Yeah, they are better.
Yeah, so like they're just more solid. JaVale has had a career season for them. I think this is the best season of JaVale's career. They've been without Ayton. They have missed Booker for some time. Hasn't mattered. Chris Paul stays healthy, which that's kind of the outliers. Like maybe that was the bad cap on my end, is that when I looked at the injury look, I was like, well, Chris Paul's probably going to miss some games, and knock on wood, he hasn't. And that's been like, as long as Chris is there, they're killing teams. They're just killing them. And so,
and then also, I mean, you look at the fact that Dario Saric is out. So you came from that angle as well. And it appears that Jalen Smith is going to be a thing. Like Jalen Smith has been absolutely incredible. Like, so it's just, and then they just signed Biyombo. So I think they have all the bigs that they need. I just think this team is just a solid team that's a contender.
I think a lot of it is that I feel like there's going to be a spot to hit them as a dog versus the Warriors. And I'll probably be on that side because I've gotten the Warriors at such big numbers before the eruption that I'm waiting. Like I want to bet Phoenix before the playoffs begin. I want to see them get to that point. Not because I think they'll fall off, just I want to see their health and everything else. I do think that depending on the playoff lie, like I like them versus every team in the West, except versus the Lakers and the Warriors. Those are the only two teams I think that can beat Phoenix. And that says a lot. I do think, however, as far as like, if I'm not betting them for title, I do think the East has advantages over them. I like the matchup for Brooklyn and Milwaukee and conceivably Philly if they were to get there. Yeah.
So it's really interesting. We all like the way that the East top teams match up against the West. The West top teams, the West has the top 3 net ratings and the top 3 SRS. And the team that's number 1 in both of those, we haven't mentioned yet, that's the Utah Jazz. They're the lurkers. They're the Milwaukee Bucks of the West, just kind of hanging out there. Raheem, I feel like your model usually puts a lot of stock into net rating, SRS type stuff. Where does your model see the Jazz right now? Are they in that top tier with those two? Are they in the next tier down? Where
they're definitely in the top tier, but I think Matt has like totally convinced me that this Jazz team is not in. They struggle with the switch. We did a couple of casts where I think they've been playing the Spurs, and the whole second half, I think somebody asked, I think our partner on the NBA Best Stream, he asked, what do the Spurs need to do to get back in this game? And Matt replied, switch. And the whole second half, the Spurs switched and they struggled to score. So I just think that's an issue that they're going to face going forward. They're going to struggle with the Warriors as they did last week. They're going to struggle against the Nuggets because as long as the Nuggets have Nikola Jokic and they have one other guy who can step up, they can't handle that matchup. I don't even know if they can handle the Lakers at full strength. So I just think this is a Utah Jazz team, which is great in the regular season, but I don't have faith in it.
I got here's some under the hood stuff for you. Pay real close attention to post-game comments if you're on Twitter about this Jazz team. There's something weird going on because every other game there are comments from various players that reflect two different sides of a coin. Because some players are saying, you know what we need to do? We need to get, like, this is why we needed to change up what we're doing. Like, we need to be, are we going to run back the same thing every single year? Or are we going to try something new? And then other players in different games will say, see, as long as we trust the system and we play with each other, we're fine. There is a tension there. And that has been very apparent to me, even if it's not like this big overblown, like they hate each other. I don't think that's it. I do think that not everybody is on the same page. And I think that that's causing some tension. I think the win last night versus the Nuggets without Rudy Gobert, Rudy's amazing. He's an incredible player. What they were able to do with Rudy Gay at the small ball 5, that was very eye-opening to me. This team is one to watch chemistry-wise, I think, over the back half of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting watching the top of the West. There is one more, the sleeping giant in the West. The one more team, we got to wrap up here, but we have time for one more team to talk about. We can't do a podcast without talking about, you know what? Forget the Lakers. We'll talk about them on all the other podcasts. Lakers are out. We're not talking about them. Yeah, so we are going to talk about the 4th team in the West, the clear 4 seed right now, above the rest, below the top 3, the Memphis Grizzlies, Ja Morant's Memphis Grizzlies, Matt Moore's Memphis Grizzlies. Look at him repping. Ja is scoring huge points. He has even odds now to win Most Improved. He's a name we liked before this season. Matt, the floor is yours. The Grizzlies are here.
2012 Oklahoma City Thunder. No, I'm sorry, 2011. That's a very, very important difference. 2011.
I was about to say they're going to the finals?
Yeah, 2011 Oklahoma City Thunder. Got beat by the Mavericks in, by the way, the Western Conference Finals. I don't know if they're going to make the WCF, but I look at this Grizzlies team and they remind me a lot of it. Look, the biggest thing here, if you want to go the other way on them and you want to not buy in, here's the number. The Grizzlies have been the best team versus teams 500 or better this season in the NBA. They have 16 wins versus teams 500 and above. That is the most in the NBA. The Warriors have 14. The Suns have 13. The Bulls only have 12. The Nets are only 10-10. The Grizzlies are 16-8 versus teams 500 and above. They have won all these big matchups. If you wonder how are they not the 1 seed, it's because they're only 9-6 versus teams under 500. So that's kind of like the question of if you're looking for like they've probably overperformed in some of these games. They are, I will say this, they play extremely well on the big stage. Ja has been insane. There's probably some, like, I don't know. If you're like me and you bet a lot of guys for MVP, I'm more prone to bet for Ja than DeMar. Like, there's a little value, I think, on Ja, because if this team were to keep going and get themselves into like a 3rd seed, it's going to be tough. Here's one.
Yeah.
Ja Morant shooting better than Steph Curry from 3 this season. It's on like half the shots, but still, Ja's is 40% from 3 this season. He's been ridiculous. He's been amazing. They have so many weapons. Jaren Jackson's made a leap defensively. They figured out a lot when Ja was out about how to play better defensively. They're figuring out the bench rotations. I love Taylor Jenkins as a coach. I'm going to be looking for opportunities to bet the Grizzlies. I think they're going to be dogs, I think, still in a lot of these series, depending on who gets there. If it's, let's say the Mavericks get the 5 versus Memphis at the 4, I honestly might think the books might wind up going with the Mavericks as a slight favorite in that spot. And if that's the case, I'm going to be all over Memphis as a dog. I'm going to be taking them to win more games than expected when they get into the second round. I do believe that this Memphis team is going to make noise in the playoffs, even if I don't think that they can go all the way to the finals.
Yeah, when you say they're dogs is the right word there. They're just going to be clawing and ripping at you. Like, this is Memphis to me. This is what I want from a Grizzlies team, just to show up and just fight hard, blue collar, come at you. It's not grit and grind. It's like the modern version of a grit and grind. Memphis has an identity. They're fun to watch. Raheem, you tweeted about that this is just a really fun team to watch and bet on and enjoy. Where are you on the Grizzlies?
Oh yeah, I love this Grizzlies team. I don't know how I feel about them as like a championship contender, but I just feel like on any given night they can beat anybody. Ja Morant is, I mean, we're looking at pretty much another incarnation of a Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, who's under control. I mean, like, there's not many guys in this league who can stay in front of him. And you see he hits the game winner against the Suns, which looked impossible. He dominates down the stretch against the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is just a team that I love betting in the regular season. I do think that they got a chance to go to second round, maybe third round of the playoffs, but I don't know how serious I can take them as a contender, but they've been playing good defense. As long as Jaren Jackson can stay out of foul trouble, that's one of the most frustrating things about, when I'm watching the Grizzlies. But besides that, I love this team. I love Desmond Bane, and Dylan Brooks hasn't even been playing. So once they get everybody healthy, this team is it's a great team to watch.
This has been good. This has been great. I feel like we've caught up. Brandon, do you feel caught up on the NBA?
I feel caught up. I feel like NFL is wrapping up, and I'm caught up on NBA, and I'm ready for a basketball spring.
It is that time. It is that time. And if you guys want to follow more, check us out on the Action Network app. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Give us those 5-star reviews. Reminder, Buckets has our live show on 7 o'clock on Tuesdays, 7 o'clock Eastern on Tuesdays, previewing the Wednesday slates. Raheem was stressing last night about his Nets pick, but that came out okay because the second half collapsed by Indiana. The Warriors.
Oh, before we go, what did you tell everybody before we got on this the Zoom record this podcast about the Indiana Pacers?
If the Pacers are up at half, we got a live bet it the other way.
That's a gem that you guys got to take with you for the rest of the season, because this team will collapse.
They hate prosperity. That nobody hates prosperity and their own fans like the Indiana Pacers. Brandon should be a fan of the Pacers at this point, given his proclivity for hating his own team. All right, make sure to rate, review, subscribe. Check us out on the YouTube channel. We're gonna be doing more live shows. By the way, we're picking up a Thursday show, which will go on Wednesdays. Right, Thursday games on Wednesday nights. We'll be starting next week, so we'll have those. Big picture back on Monday. Talk about whatever the best game of the week is, which I've not looked at yet, on Tuesday night. We'll catch you guys then. Thanks for joining us on this edition. Let's get buckets.